What's up, everybody? This is Fred with Game Blips, and I'm just doing a review here of the Retron 5, the multi-system retro console thing. So let's go ahead and actually get this booted up. And there we are. What we're going to do is actually we're going to start off with the Nintendo. Let's wait for the boot screen to come on, though. There we are. Now this is the original pack-in with Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. Unfortunately, because I'm playing this on HD, I'm not going to be able to do anything with Duck Hunt. And that's another thing I wanted to point out. The system itself is HDMI only, so light gun games are no-go. Just trying to get the controller paired. Now, it's a very unique controller. It does pretty much all the systems. 2-button, 6-button, L and R for like Super Nintendo. Now, there are a couple of things about this. I mean, it does a lot of things. It connects to a lot of different systems, but it's like a jack of all trades, master of none. It's got the 6 buttons. It's got all kinds of fun buttons and things, and it's not very ergonomic like today's standards. And one thing I wanted to point out, and a lot of people have complained about this on the internet, on videos and on forums and things like that, is the D-pad, which is kind of like a mix between, like, let's say the Neo Geo Pocket or the Neo Geo CD and the NES Advantage, the little swirly disc thing. The biggest concern here is it makes a really weird crunchy noise when you go into the bottom areas, and I don't know if the microphone can pick this up, but it's really kind of concerning. I don't like it, and I don't know. It's maybe the future versions, if Hyperkin listens to their fans and everybody else, you know, maybe they can do a little more R&D on that part. But all in all, I mean, this is the item that you need to keep with the Retron. I've seen people destroy them because they get so upset with these things, but if you do that, you don't get access to this menu. You only get to this menu right when you boot up. You can't get back to it if you don't have this controller. Like, let's say you're using a third-party Genesis controller or a real Genesis controller, or Super Nintendo. It's got the player 1 and player 2 sides. There are ports. There are 6 ports in all for each system. So there are player 1 and player 2 for NES, player 1 and player 2. It also comes for it covers the Famicom as well. But player 1 and player 2 for GBA. There are some GBA games that you can actually play 2 players with only just the limited buttons you have on there. And the same for the Super NES and for the Genesis. So all of them cover everything. You just have to watch how your buttons are mapped. But enough of that. Let's get into some Duck Hunt here. Or not Duck Hunt. I found it earlier. I gotta find that reset button. Right, let's see if we just hit play. There we go. So that brings us to the good old nostalgic switch between the two. Like I said, you can't play Duck Hunt and other light games with HD, but I'm still going to go into it just to show it off. So everything is upscaled into 1080, but you're not getting that digital sprite that was drawn and intended by the original artists and the companies, and then converted to analog. you know, like the old traditional tube TVs. So what you're getting is a true representation of the game, all the sprites, the backgrounds, the foregrounds, everything. It's all coming out digital now, so it looks super good. Now, since we're getting laughed at by the dog, there's some things you can do. You can change the filters. If anybody's familiar with this system and any of the emulators that are out there for computers and certain handhelds, you can actually set up, let's see now it's all kind of blobby looking. Most of the jaggies are gone. The bullets are round instead of, you know, have the square tips. So it gives a little bit of a of an update. It gives it a fresher look. But for a lot of people, that's not what they came here for. They want the original look. And sometimes they even go as far as, let's turn on these things, which I am not a fan of. Scan lines are there because they were there. I mean, that was part of tube technology. A little Tenacious D reference there. But they were part of the tube technology of the old school TVs. So they were there because they were there. They weren't there because it was something they had to put in. It was, you know, something that was just inherent of the technology itself. I'm not a fan of them, especially if you start applying all these filters. So you're rounding it off, but then you're taking stuff away by adding all the lines in there. It just doesn't make any sense. So let's hop back in. Let's try out Super Eagle. Let's shut that off too. So yeah, I mean it makes it blobbier, definitely. I mean the you can really tell in the font. There's a big difference there. All right, so enough of the ducks. Oop. Still getting used to the built-in controller there. Let's actually turn down the volume a little bit so I get less feedback from the microphone. There we go. Back to normal. So I was talking about the controller earlier. I wanted to also point out the response time. There seems to be a little bit of lag. Could be... See? It could be how it's like screen lag. It could be Bluetooth lag. It could be just how the system handles. Whoops. How the system handles the controller itself. So there's that, and then there's this. It's kind of funny because it's a little bit of like a little sacrilegious, because I'm using a third-party Genesis controller on a Nintendo game. So, but all in all, I mean, input lag is pretty much gone. Is my downside? Nope. Interesting. One thing I do need to change, I need to swap these buttons around. Guess I won't do it that way. Yeah, B is A, A is B. No big deal. I just have to remember it in my brain. soon. Just want some fireworks. Now, another thing I wanted to point out too is the way I have it capturing right now is the normal 4:3. You can set it up. Let's go back to the main menu. You can set it to stretch. And then it's super full screen. Width-wise, it's all stretched out. But there are people out there that say, I paid for this much screen, I want to put everything on it. You know, from top to bottom, left to right. Yeah, but then it's what they say is it's out of scope. And if you're talking about playing the game pixel for pixel, I keep doing that. Pixel for pixel, it's going to throw you off in terms of timing and other things like that. And right now with this controller, I'm having a hard enough time as it is. So let's switch that back. Oops. Switch from controller to controller. What am I doing? Now you can use zoom, which it puts it in the proper aspect ratio, but it gives it to you at full width, regardless of what's happening in terms of the height. So you still get like the 1x1 pixel, but it's just huge. There are other ways to get around that. You can go back in and adjust like screen size and, you know, do all kinds of wacky things, but by the time you get done with that, you might as well just leave it all off. Because this is the way it was meant to be played. By no means am I a speedrunner. Now, in terms of the NES, colors looks great. And this is the big thing I'm going to point out. Because this is actually an emulation box, you know, sounds are never going to be right. So, and that's the biggest thing that a lot of emulator programmers are always trying to achieve is, of course, 100% emulation from how controller input works, how the audio plays, how the music sounds, things like that. When it comes to the NES, it seems to be pretty much right on par. At least testing for the two games that are in the packet right here, for Duck Hunt and for Mario Brothers, or Super Mario Brothers. Everything seems to be proper in all the right places. Oop, ran over that. I messed that up. I'm not gonna bother rebuilding all the way through there. I did it in a previous run through this, but yes, even the negative world works. But warp zones are all here and everything. Okay, so that's it with the Nintendo portion. I don't happen to have any Famicom games, so I'm not going to be able to really test that out, but really it's just, all the Famicom is just a reverse pinout compared to what the US version is, with like the lockout chip and a couple other things. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to get into when we were just talking about a review on this system. So they just made a separate port for it, slam in a cartridge, and you're ready to go. So you can take the Japanese version, play it, you can take the US version, play it, and it'll both work on this system. So let's go ahead and actually power this down, and we will switch out to... Let's go to the GBA. Now that's actually one thing, and I'm pretty sure it's just inherent with the electronics and how it reads each cartridge. But that's kind of one disappointing thing with this system. You can't keep all your cartridges in at the same time. The system can accommodate one of each, up to 5 different cartridges. So how cool would that be? Put your 5, flavor of the week games out of each system and put it in there and just leave it and forget about it, just come back. And then, they have the icons on the side. Why can't you just flip over to one of those and say, okay, I want to go from the GBA, and then we'll end up playing the Super Nintendo in a couple of minutes. Now, actually, I had this problem earlier. What we're playing is the GBA version of Puzzle Fighter. Now, it says it's an unknown cartridge, and it's going to give me a hassle when I try and run it. You'll see what's going to happen here in a couple of seconds. Okay, so cartridge is not recognized by the Retron 5. I don't think it's a poor connection issue. This is one of the cartridges I use to test GBAs before I send them out when I trade off to people on like 99gamers.com. So I know how it works. So, do you wish to continue and attempt to run the game anyway? Well, I'm not really all that bent out of shape if I lose all my high scores on there. I will get them back. Not a big deal. So, use this at your own risk if you end up getting an unknown cartridge. It goes for all the systems. I'm not going to be showcasing any RPGs, so, like I said, do this at your own risk. This will work, but test it. Definitely test it out. Actually, let me resync the controller here. Because I wanted to show off the hit that wrong button. I wanted to show off the video that starts up in the beginning. Yes, it looks super chunky, and probably this is where filters will help out a lot as well. But you got to realize the GBA has a super low resolution screen. The only reason why it looks good is because it's taking all of that stuff and squishing it into a tiny little screen. You don't get to see all this stuff stretched out the way it is. So, given that, yeah, this is not going to be the Saturn or the PlayStation version of Puzzle Fighter, and it's definitely not going to be the higher resolutions that they brought out in like the Dreamcast or the online version that they have for the 360 PS3. So, little give and take, but if you got to get your Puzzle Fighter on or any other GBA game, this is a really good way to do it. So, actually, while we're in the demo mode, I'm going to actually switch out to some of the filters to see what those look like. Super! So, in this case, in this super low resolution game, having it look all blobby like that, it actually kind of helps. Sort of. it really cleans up a lot of the jaggies, kind of makes it look more pleasing to the eye because it's blown up like this. See if I can get the intro video to work. Softer view, so it gives a little more of the jaggies. Let's see if we can catch this on. Okay, so that makes it a little softer there. And just for reference, that puts it back to the original straight up bitmap screen here. Yeah, that's the squishiest it's gonna look. Probably the other thing that would partially help would be, yeah, turn on the scan lines. Wow, actually, you know what? I think this is the first time I would even consider using scan lines as a mainstay switch or setting. Just mainly because it is so low resolution. See what that looks like with no filter but has scan lines. It's kind of bearable. I like that. So, enough of that. Let's check out how this actually plays. Since I'm talking, let's actually turn this down. I know it's not about me and how I play, but it'll make it easier to do this review. And no picking on how I play. This is how I play these kinds of games. I know it's cheap. You know what? It works. Now the audio samples keep coming over just fine. Like I was mentioning earlier, the biggest thing is reviewing how it looks and how it sounds. I don't know if it was the constant stopping and starting of the cartridge itself, with pausing and switching out for all the filters, but I think I messed up the audio because this is not how it's supposed to sound. Okay, it's close. I'm going to reset the cart one more time just to make sure that it's not what I did. weeks. Just go one more round in here. Again, I am playing this with the Genesis controller for a Game Boy Advance game. So it was a little weird. Alright, so that is Super Puzzle Fighter 2 for the GBA. Let's go ahead and actually switch over to the Genesis. And keeping with the Street Fighter theme, I'm going to toss in Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. Okay, we've got Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition. Get the Retron controller. There we go. Now, as I mentioned, we're doing a review. This is an actual partnered review that we've done, a unit that we picked up from One Up Games here in Bay City. So the owner gave me an SD card full of cheats. So I'm not a big fan of cheats. Wow, there are a lot of cheats in this. So I guess we should turn that on. So essentially you can turn this into a pirate board. It's interesting how that was doubled. Stuff for Balrog. More stuff for Balrog. Let's make him jump much higher. All fireballs are harmless. That's a fun one. Alright, enough messing around with that. Let's do this. Oh, yeah, let's turn off all this scaling, not scaling, filters, scan lines. There we go. Huh. It's gotta be one of the codes I've turned on. Alright, let's shut those off. reset. It's weird it's doing that. Whoop. So once again, it looks great. It looks so good. I'm missing buttons. Interesting. Oh, I had to hit the mode button on my 6 button. There we go. But I'm punching a lot. Huh. Let me switch out to a standard 6 button, because this third party is doing some weird stuff on this game. I have no punch buttons now. Alright, let's try this again. Alright, it's not flopping backwards, and that's good. It's not hitting start automatically for me for review. I have no punch buttons. Nope. See if that helps. Nope. Alright, let's do a full system reset. Try this one more time. Alright, so that wasn't an issue of the emulation, that was just an issue of me switching controllers in that stuff. All right. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Looks good. The sound is emulated quite nicely. Uh, controller lag isn't there. We'll go one more round. That's right, Ken. Throw up. Ooh, that's a crossover. Ooh, no. Alright, so I got my win. So, what's left? I think it's the Super Nintendo time. Let's go ahead and power this off again. And we'll switch out to the Super Nintendo. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this next game because this is actually going to be our main feed for Friday Night Fights tomorrow. This is where none of us are going to be available because we're doing something with our sister website, lipstickandcatfur.com. We're going to be recording a podcast for them. So let's switch out to this and we'll check out some Art of Fighting. Let's get going here. Now, I was playing this earlier. I turned on the expanded stereo. It sounds so good. And I'm usually not a big fan of Super Nintendo music. I think it sounds too warbly, reverby, just too hollow. But there's something about the expanded stereo in this version of the game that makes it match closer to the original Neo Geo style of music. That, and this is the only home version. I'm a very, very die-hard Sega person, and this is the only home version outside of using the actual AES, the Neo Geo home system, that has true scaling, and actually it'll show here. When the guys jump out too far away from each other, the screen will zoom. Hopefully you get to see more of that. A little bit there. Yeah. Alright, skip that intro. You'll see the zooming here.
Now, one, fight.
It kept all my bug mappings. And it didn't. Hold on here real quick. How did I do this earlier? Oh, I know. So here's the zooming, which it does quite well. So as I was saying, the expanded stereo sounds really good. The game plays well. One reason why I wanted to do this one is because it has that scaling when the guys jump farther away from each other and when they get closer to each other. You know, sometimes scaling doesn't translate well in emulators. And, you know, something that was programmed by not Nintendo, definitely by SNK, a competitor, they may not have been able to emulate whatever kind of strange ins and outs that those companies may have programmed. Let's get the storyline here. Perfect. Ooh, beat me to it. So yeah, we'll be playing this for our Friday Night Fights for this week, and it'll be pre-recorded because, like I said, we're going to be a little predisposed with another project. But this whole system is pretty nice. Do the bonus game real quick. Oop. Oh no! I should do every other special move. Yeah. So, not revealing too much about this game. Let's go ahead and go back to the main menu. So, my final thoughts on this system. It's nice. It's great. It's an emulator, though. So, it's good for a couple of reasons. If you don't have a lot of real estate and you're not into collecting the original systems, this is worth every penny. If you're into only collecting cartridges, definitely worth every penny. If you're a person like me who does system reviews and game reviews, this is a great way for you to be able to output directly as HDMI. No other extra hardware. I've got quite a rat's nest worth of video equipment and wiring that will allow me to take all of my regular AV, my S-video, and anything that comes through the RF modulator, like the old like Atari switch box thing that goes in the back of the TV. Uh, I have a lot of equipment that lets me take that signal and then upscale it into HDMI for 1080p or 720. So unless you're really willing to invest in that kind of stuff, this is a great shortcut if you're just getting into the reviewing scene. So that being said, kind of the drawbacks. Like I said, it's an emulator. It is not true hardware. Uh, the purists, they don't dig this kind of thing. But really, that's really the only drawback. Now, physically, this controller does leave a lot to be desired. I mentioned this earlier. I mean, it does cover, if you don't have any controllers, like you're just starting out, you don't have a Genesis controller, you don't have a Famicom controller, you don't have an S controller, you don't have a Super Nintendo controller, you got nothing. This is where you're going to start. The design, it's nice, it fits enough in the hands, it's not like mega ergonomic, but the R&D really should have gone through a few more revisions for this D-pad. I've seen some videos on people that are so upset with this design and how they claim it's so poorly made that they just destroy it. Well, if they destroy it, you really can't get to these menus that are here for you to make adjustments for while you're in mid-game. Yes, you can get to them while you do your first time boot. You can get to all those things. But this is still an item of convenience too. Don't lose it. So all in all, this is a pretty good system. Definitely pick one up if you are into the nostalgia, if you're into retro, if you're into 8 and 16-bit games. Just remember that it might not play everything. I've heard people have reports that if you play Sonic and Knuckles, it plays perfectly fine, but if you put like Sonic 2 on top of Sonic and Knuckles, it just gives you a blank screen. Mileage may vary, but if you're in the market for a new retro system, this is definitely one to grab. And as I mentioned earlier too, this is a review unit from One Up Games in Bay City, Michigan. So definitely thanks to them for letting us review this unit, and definitely look to them for your gaming and system repairs too. They don't do just system repairs; they also do like screen replacements for phones and tablets and things like that. They make sure everything, games-wise, they make sure everything contacts on the edge of the card that's inside the cartridge. They make sure it's clean. They check everything over. They're very meticulous. So check them out. I'll have the links in the show notes down at the bottom there of where they're located. I'll also have it at the end of the video here. So that's it with this review for the Retron 5, and this is Fred with Game Blips. We'll see you at the next video.